For me and my family, peace is always an option. But today, choose violence. Now in a can.
Look at you being all awake and stuff. You're reading words, and you probably aren't even stabbing anybody right now. You deserve a coffee, you little ray of sunshine.
I'm Judy. I have cafe. Come for breakfast.
Hey folks, Mike Barron here. Every time we do a crowdfunder, we place it on Fund My Comic because Luke Stone is a great guy. He's a stand-up guy. And most importantly, Fund My Comic is very comic creator friendly. They won't kick you off if some purple-haired freak writes in and tells them to kick you off. His fees are also very low. I recommend Fund My Comic for any comic or graphic novel projects you intend to do.
In the middle of the night or early Friday morning, depending upon where you are in the world, a group of experienced comics professionals get together to examine and instruct about the art form that they love. That's great comic artwork on Comics by Night, Fridays at 5 a.m. Eastern, here on the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com.
What was that? This is not a charade.
What a crowd.
150. Episode 150.
Nice.
Yes. 150 times.
150.
$150.
Yeah.
Mm.
What a milestone.
Yep.
150 times we have gathered in front of our webcams
Yeah.
to talk about comics and geek culture. Getting my coffee set up over there.
Lately, it feels we've been talking more about Diamond than anything else. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we have. Diamond has owned the news cycle. You know how they say no press is bad press?
Yep.
Diamond is really testing that.
Yeah. I never believed in that.
They're still in the news today.
I never
Yeah.
This
believed
ain't over, guys. This is not even close to being over.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Now the game industry is like freaking out. We didn't even realize how deep Diamond's fingers are into things.
Yeah, they had the long fingers
Long fingers.
that banged the industry. Sorry. Oh my God.
Pedro,
Yeah.
how you doing, man? Everything go down there in Panama?
Dude, it's a beautiful morning. It's like partially sunny, partially like drizzly rainy. The weather is awesome. It's an awesome mountain morning, and I'm loving it.
Beautiful. I do love the mountains.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of mountains, here, check this out.
Oh, Jamie! Jamie, no! Oh my, no! Oh my God!
Oh, there you go.
He deserved that. He deserved that.
That's what he gets.
Yeah.
Well, this can happen to you 20 minutes away from my house, actually. I'm surrounded by 9 waterfalls, and 2 of those have those kind of like.
This could be you too.
This could be you.
You.
I didn't know you were in the mountains, Pedro.
Yeah, like ever
Mountains
since
of
the
Panama.
pandemic, my family has like it's not really a house, it's like a compound. Because they used to grow chickens and
Compound.
stuff. Yeah, like
Pedro's got a
David
mountain
Koresh.
compound.
He's starting a cult next year.
Yeah, like David Koresh.
Yeah.
So I moved here since the pandemic, and they got rid of the chickens. And now
chickens.
I have a goat and a vanilla plantation. And I was trying to start a charcoal business, but there's some machinery I have to buy, so I'm still looking into that. And I'm doing comics. So yeah.
Charcoal.
It's
Living a
good,
dream
it's a
up
good
there.
living. Yeah.
Charcoal.
Just need to get you some wives.
No, dude. I've tried.
He said, not wife, wives.
Wives.
No, the thing is, like, I can't handle one.
Polygamy is the way, Pedro.
Yeah, dude. I can see myself like dealing with 4. Yeah.
You know what the penalty for polygamy is?
The what?
You know what the penalty for polygamy is?
What?
More than one wife.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like I don't know.
Penalty. The penalty is crime.
The thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, dude, like I had one. That was good.
How do these guys handle more than one wife? Like, okay,
Dude,
I love
abuse,
my wife. She is
honestly.
my best friend. Dude, look, she
I've
is my
seen some
best
abuse
friend.
in my area. I took this one lady away. It's bringing the mood down. It was a
Dude,
what's
yeah.
Handmaid's Tale situation. She basically
What
escaped.
is wrong with you?
Oof.
Well, that's good that she escaped.
Well,
But the point is, like, my wife's my best friend. I love her.
Yeah.
We have so much fun together. But I could not imagine trying to juggle. Now, sometimes she says she wishes she had a wife, someone to do the laundry. And
yeah, exactly. Because
watch
wives
the
are
budget
convenient.
for her. Yeah. It would be nice. It would be a pleasure.
Yeah.
Randy, how's your week going, man?
I'm fine. A little bit of commercial work working on, still writing the script for Atlantean 4 right now. So
He's
all
good.
good.
He's doing all right. Yeah.
I got the plot out. I know what happens in the book. I just have to write it down.
Yeah.
Comics are awesome.
Indeed.
Even sitting on the toilet.
From the mouth of the sage.
Yeah.
Seems like one of the few decent people in Hollywood.
I don't.
Yeah,
believe
man. If it ever came out that
anything.
he was not decent, I'd be like, that's it.
Yeah, we're done.
The thing's like I don't even think he is. Like I don't believe anything out of Hollywood.
I know. Well, Pedro,
Yeah.
you're so cynical.
Yeah.
It makes
We
sense.
want to believe. Give us this, Pedro. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. You can get Point Break. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Point Break was an awesome movie.
Yeah.
It was an
But-
awesome movie. I
Yeah.
loved it.
You look at some of the stuff they're passing for movies now, and those old movies in the 80s
Oh, yeah,
were
dude.
amazing.
Yeah.
Even the B movies, like
Yes.
better.
Mhm.
Oh,
Dude, you know
even
which
that
movie?
Time
which
Rider,
movie
oh
that
man,
sucked
some great stuff.
back in the day. I saw it today and I chuckled a bit.
Full Moon Productions.
The Eddie Murphy vampire movie, like Vampire
Yeah.
in Brooklyn.
Mhm.
Dude, like that movie sucked. But
That
when
was-
he did the preacher, like evil is good.
You know, yeah. One
Think it
great thing
really-
about the 80s is people just weren't afraid to be silly, you know?
Yeah.
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 That's part of what makes comics so fun. Like, we
Well,
could be
yeah.
serious and make a point, but also be silly and have fun. And
Movies
used to
were
do that.
legitimately fun
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you guys heard about this. So in the movie for the new Superman, James Gunn has officially announced that it is political, that it is focuses on Superman being an immigrant and how we need to respond with kindness.
Oh,
His
Jeff,
brother Sean said that if you don't like immigrants, okay, then you're not American. And the problem is to take the story of Superman and shoehorn in the problems that we have with illegal immigration right now, and trying to compare those two things, man, that's crazy. But it's no longer truth, justice, and the American way. It's truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. So some people are taking offense to this. Did you know that? Because James Gunn has decided to James Gunn the dang thing.
Well,
And one of the people, go ahead.
not to rain on your parade or anything, but there's also a campaign out there to press the thought that the movie is woke in order to discourage fans from going. There's like an anti-Superman sentiment out there of this getting out. The reviews that I have read that have watched the movie say that the messaging is there, but it's not prominent, not remotely prominent, and that it's more like an episode of Superman Adventures, the animated show,
Okay.
and Justice League Unlimited kind of rolled together.
Okay.
That it's a lighter, brighter take on Superman and the characters, something that's been desperately missing from comic book movies for a long time. And the other big reviews, that consensus that I've read in those reviews, is that it's the most comic book movie that folks
Ever
have ever
made?
seen, that they have seen to date. Yep.
Okay.
I am going to see it today, so I'll let you know later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you let
But
me know.
A
'cause
lot
I'm
of
not
this,
spending my money on it.
a lot of this woke stuff, especially the article, if you sit and read the article that's in Variety, which seems to be the one that kicked all of this off with a stupid headline taken totally out of context in order to be negative for the movie, calling it woke. If you read the entire quote that Gunn gave, it's not as bad as it sounds.
I do like how how Gunn and the cast reacted to the interview questions that are on not the red carpet, maybe the red carpet, but the
Was the
whatever
red carpet,
promotion
yeah.
they did. Those are great
Yeah, it was great.
responses. Like
Well,
I
I
like
think-
Nathan Fillion's response the most. Like someone needs a hug. Like it's a movie, have fun.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of the cast has been prepped as to how to respond to this, just because they kind of figured this kind of negative publicity would end up going out there
Well,
trying to hurt the
that's
movie.
just good planning on the studio's part if that's true.
It is.
They should
It
do
is.
that more often.
You know, Dean Cain,
I got complaints with the film, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. I don't agree with the emblem, and it's all picky points. I don't agree with the breed of dog choice that they picked. It works, though. Okay, I don't agree with the symbol on his freaking chest because that's not.
Wait, Randy. What breed of dog would you be happy with, though?
Something close to a terrier, Dalmatian.
Okay.
I don't know that they cast the right guy for Clark. I just don't.
Every clip that I've seen from this movie, and I thought the same thing as you did, Luke, but every clip I see from this movie, he's okay.
What's interesting about the actor Corn Sweat, I want to call him Corn Sweat, but he seems more like Clark Kent when he's not acting. Like you catch him in an interview, he looks like Clark Kent, talks like Clark Kent.
I want to focus on the dog, though.
Seems like a guy trying to be Clark Kent.
Let's focus on the dog.
Let's focus on the dog.
Well, the dog is a focus in the movie, but yeah, I think it goes to add to the whimsy and the lightness that Gunn is trying to bring into the film.
Anything with a dog is better.
And this is a total counterpart to the Snyderverse. I mean, just a complete opposite direction than what Snyder was going in. And I think it's way overdue.
Yeah, I agree. I think we went through this era where like mid to late 90s, early 2000s, comic book movies are still pretty new. And I feel like studios had to make them like gritty to make them live action to be realistic. Well, they got to be gritty and more grounded.
No, but you know who I blame for this? And the movie's great, so I'm not bashing the film. But it happened to be like a grittier motif. Blade was the first comic book movie that really did great, and it was gritty. Yes. So they thought that the grit should be part of it, and it's not.
What about Burton though? I mean, Burton's like kind of goth, but still it was more.
Yeah, but Burton was very silly. His Batman movies were very silly.
That Batman Returns was dark.
Yeah,
Returns was over the top, but like the '89 Batman, I think. Brought
Returns
Batman
wasn't Burton,
a little more of a noir, I guess, which he started out as, but realistic.
One of the Batman films Burton didn't do.
He did the first
Just
two.
the first two.
The first two, yeah.
He didn't
I think
do
89
Batman Fever and Batman and Robin.
Yeah. And that's the thing with especially with the Batman movies, with a lot of the superhero films, you see this. The sequels are over exaggerations of the original.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where they go and this worked, so they take it in whatever direction. And you look at those Snyder movies, it goes darker as it goes along. And that's not
where it's almost black and white. Yeah, it's almost black and white.
Mm-hmm. Might as well be filmed in black and white. It's not comics to me. People have to realize that superheroes are a fantasy medium. And if you can build up the thing that made Burton's first Batman great, is that he took that character and put him in a completely alien world.
Mm-hmm.
Architecture was different. Everything was not realistic. It's like the Dick Tracy films the same way. Yeah. It's great. Popeye is the same way. Just good great stuff. Classic cinema. Great stuff. But over the years, superhero movies have decided, well, we got to get realistic and we got to address this and we got to address. No, you don't. Mm-hmm. You have to put seats.
Realistic.
You have to put tickets,
what's your opinion
people in the theater and entertain the crap out of them. That's what you got to do with these movies.
But what's your opinion on Raimi Spider-Man's though?
That Raimi Spider-Man was okay. There were the changes were slight. I mean, shooting the webbing out of his body
himself.
That was a little nasty. Suggestive, but it was pure. Raimi brought his style to Spider-Man, so it's okay, and it did kind of remove everybody out of this world. The whole idea behind movies are escapism, and if you're dealing with superheroes, you're dealing with fantasy escapism. And
you know what I respect?
It shouldn't be realistic all the time.
But you know what I respect about Raimi Spider-Man? That he respected the language.
He respected the characters too, a lot.
But how they spoke, like "God bless for you, Spider-Man," and just like the whole 70s. What Stan Lee thought was cool.
The people
here and there.
The directors that work on these films that know and love comics do great comic book movies.
Yeah.
You can tell Gunn loves comics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can tell it from the Guardians films that he loves he loves the attitude, and it's not it's not a stupidity, it's an entertainment value, not even whimsy. You can't even call it whimsy, but it's a lightheartedness to it where they know they're in a fantasy and they're not taking themselves so seriously that everything has to be realistic and gritty and make sense.
Look, so that's what Dean Cain, the former Superman actor, is saying in this particular article. He's like, look, the American way was kind of an ideal that, during two international conflicts, that Superman kind of became this emblem of the values of America, right? And to strip that, right, strip that, even though that was kind of a political statement, it kind of has become a part of our codex in American culture, right? Yeah. And kind of strip that. And the problem is, he said, this is an overarching problem with Hollywood, is what he's kind of saying here in this section, that it's all about messaging. Like, everything has to have a message in it. It's like, why couldn't you have made the movie without talking about the message or trying to promote this message that it's about immigrants? Obviously, the creators of Superman were both immigrants.
Well, actually, Superman is actually a refugee.
He's a refugee.
He's not an immigrant. It's not
There's
the
a big
same
difference,
thing.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is true, I guess, of Krypton. But yeah, like the authors did write an immigrant story, and they're like Jewish guys from New York, right? And like Kal-El and like Jorah and like the kind of Moses motif in there, like it's all there.
A little bit, yeah. So I mean, it's there, right? But even as you're reading the books, those original stories, they were there, but they weren't elevated to the point to where that was the message.
Right. They weren't at the
were
forefront.
just there. Yeah.
It's like
an element of the story.
Heartfelt story by an author. Like Call Sign Orion has things about me and my experience baked in, but it's not punch you in the nose, preach at you. This is RJ's life. Yeah. This is a fun story.
With my stories, I normally have a worldview that creeps in there, but it's more about the story, like what's going on with the characters. It's not really there's no real agenda with it, but if there is a message, it's about doing the right thing.
Well, there's been a big push.
Great Spike Lee movie.
There's been a big push the last 10, 20 years to do more propaganda than entertainment. And that's where the real problem lies. Comics aren't, despite what everybody wants to tell you, comics are rarely propaganda. During World War II, you saw a lot of that turn into propaganda. But nowadays, back when the books were selling millions and millions of copies, they were entertainment first, propaganda second. And the best way to get your political point across, if you're in this business or any entertainment business, is to entertain first, message second. And that Serling did that, Roddenberry did that. And the problem nowadays is that they smash you over the head with the message first and don't bother to try to use any of these movies for entertainment.
Yeah, I think that says a lot about our culture too, because like the Greatest Generation, a lot of those guys, like you just named, they were in World War II and fought in World War II, and then they went and raised families, and they saw that as their mission, and their art reflected that. Now I think we don't have like as important of a mission, and people see their mission in life as to kind of convert you to their worldview.
Yeah.
Well,
their mission is being annoying. That's their mission.
Yeah, that's their mission.
It was a direct. Especially in the 50s and 60s, it was a direct reaction to the realism that these guys had to go through during the war. We've had enough war. We've had enough realism for a while. Let's do something lighthearted. Boom. Captain Marvel sells like crazy. The horror books are selling like nuts. That's because they've taken people away from their current situation and entertained the hell out of them.
Yeah.
That's and the sales of them books were really constant until the Comic Code Authority kicked in.
Oh, yeah.
And they were made to be kids' books. Then they had to watch. Then you had to be aware of that messaging and not be overly violent and that. So Saturday morning cartoons ran the same way. Early Saturday morning cartoons were violent and just real crazy stuff, but they were great. They were fantastic. Pieces of work.
The Saturday morning cartoon craze is an '80s thing, really, more so than the '70s. And in the '80s,
but you got that whole Alex Toth superhero era in there that Hanna-Barbera did that I don't think anybody's remotely gotten close to since, and it was horribly formulaic.
But the thing is, like,
same
we have
stuff
to take
over and over.
this into
Great
account,
fun.
Randy. We have to take this into account. in the 80s, we all thought the world was going to end in the nuclear holocaust.
Well, that was the 50s and 60s as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Also, but in
Duck
the
and
80s,
cover.
we had the whole like the Cold War and whatnot. And
we actually think that that's going to happen
50s
now,
and
too.
60s and 70s. Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Look,
like that permeated everything.
Well,
And
nowadays
everything
we're
was
starting to see.
radioactive and mutants and whatnot.
Nowadays,
let's
we're
step
starting to see how
outside
much
of comics for
propaganda
a
it is.
second.
You go back to
let's
the
step-
original X-Men; they weren't made to have a message. They were made to be fun and entertaining.
Yeah.
The message was really secondary, just like Superman.
step
Superman
out-
was there, had that message, but they didn't beat you over the head with it at all.
Let's step out of comics for a second, right?
Do it.
Let's look at this difference between messaging and entertainment in music. Neil Young wrote a song, Southern Man, right? He had a point to make that, the South being what it is, right?
Yeah.
And he painted it in a very negative way based on some stereotypes that he perceived to be true, whether or not he'd been there or not. It wasn't a very good song and it wasn't very entertaining, right?
No.
But boy, it was loaded with message.
Yeah.
So then Leonard Skinner wrote a snapback,
Yeah.
right? Or slapback, or whatever you want to call it. They wrote Sweet Home Alabama. The focus was on how good Alabama was and how it felt like home and all the good parts about it. And in there, they said, well, I heard old Neil put her down. And I hope Mr. Young will remember a Southern man don't need him around anyhow, right? So that was entertaining. And who's singing Sweet Home Alabama? Everybody knows Sweet Home Alabama. Who can quote lyrics to Southern Man?
Nobody.
Nobody.
When message gets in the way of entertainment, you get crap.
Yeah.
It was not a good song.
Right.
I'm
You were
sorry, it
looking
was
at
not
a
good
whole
song.
different. You were looking at a whole different era back then when music, especially popular music, was art and not product.
Yeah, art. Art, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, we can't really
Nowadays
say that
it's
now.
just product. Yeah.
It is product. The same 5 to 10 people are working on all the music now. They're writing all the stuff, and they just find some pretty face with a sexy body to
And
sing.
they're all using autotune.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Just like Chat GBT in comics. But anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like that's another thing. People used to write back
Say
then.
corporate comics. Yeah.
You know what I mean? People used to write for real, not like, okay, let's get a committee together
Like
and
Queen
let's
used to
analyze
write.
what we're trying to say here.
Artists.
Really
These people
important.
were artists.
Yeah.
back then.
If
Yeah.
you had a group that was writing, a group of writers, they were in a band together,
Yeah.
right? Like that's how it worked. Talent found each other and then made each other better, which is why we had, actual instruments being played. And don't get me wrong, I do use autotune when I'm recording stuff because I kind of have to.
Every tool has its purpose.
Yeah, because there are times when I'm just a little off.
Yeah.
That when I'm in front of a crowd and I'm got the I can get it, right? But when I'm doing like 30, 40 takes and trying to do layers, I'm going to be off a little bit here or there. And so you use autotune to help in those moments, right? It's like there's those studio tricks, and it's fine to use a studio trick when you're doing a recording. But you've got people, they have to lip sync because they can't really do the things that they're doing. And now you've got this age of Instagram musicians where they're, and obviously, a lot of these times you're miming the thing, but they're miming over somebody else's playing. Like they're not even doing it themselves. And that's where you start getting, like, now let's get back into comics. You got people using other people's ideas. You got Chat GPT generating the ideas. You've got it's soulless product.
There's no creativity or originality out there anymore.
Yeah, and then when it went from a product to a message, right? And then it just gets. Let's get back. I think that's why the indie comics scene is doing as well as it is, even though right now across the board, Michael Bancroft posted the other day on X, that he's noticed that the dollars in comic books is down across the board. Everyone's not making the money they were 2 years ago, 4 years ago. It's just not happening. The big boom that we saw in 2020, it was an artificial boom, I think, because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's corrected. It's correcting itself as things are changing in our socioeconomic situation, right? And he was like, I think the people that were in, he said something to the effect of, that he thinks that maybe the people that were in for a quick cash grab, for a quick buck, because there was a lot of money in comics. You can make, a few $1,000s real quick on a campaign. that these people realize that the money's not there like it was. And so they're leaving. Some of them are leaving with unfulfilled campaigns after raising $50,000, $60,000.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
They're just walking
That
away
hurts
from
the whole industry. Yep.
Hurts the whole industry, right? And then he said, but I think what's left are people that are really truly passionate about the art form and about the medium. And so it's truly an act of art and an act of love. And so you're getting better quality. He said, I'm seeing better quality amongst those indies. And it's because it's people that really, truly care about what they're producing. And, you know, I think he's right. I think he's got a great point that when the money starts to dry up, you start seeing those that are in for a quick grab leave. I don't know. What do you think? Chat, what do you think? While we're asking the chat what they think, let's welcome the chat. We got Tank Fair in the house. Good morning. It's good to have you here. We've got Will Pace from the Creators Outlet is in the house. Here for the bacon. Absolutely. There's Tank Fair again, waving away. There's our good friend Glenn Fleming, man. We miss you on the panel for sure.
He's not here because I'm here.
Hey.
Yeah. Russ. I doubt that. Comic Book Black Belt Russ Leach is in the house. Welcome. It's good to have you here today. Good to have you here today. It's always good to have you. Diamond is single-handedly sinking the industry. They are.
Successfully since the 80s, though. That's the thing.
It really is impressive.
Yeah.
Really, really, truly is impressive. We've got Gray Wolf. Gray Wolf is in the house. Welcome, one of our channel members. It's good to have you here today. Who else do we have in the house? So we got the Woke Breaker in here. Welcome. Hello, fellow Captain Marvel lovers.
Which Captain Marvel?
How's it going? It's going
the
well.
only
going
one
well.
that counts. Yeah.
If you're in the chat, man, I see you there watching. I know you're there. I know you're with us. There's 19 of you right now over on YouTube. There's 60 some of you over there on X watching right now. So come on in, chat. It's a good time. It's a good time, guys. That is good stuff. I'm a little intrigued by how this movie will go. Yeah. I don't like going to movies and spending money on stuff because it's just so expensive, you know. So I'll probably wait.
It's expensive and it's a losing gamble most of the time. But I want to take the gamble on Superman because it looks interesting enough. I feel like the message. Yeah, I'll gamble on it. I'll let you know. I'll be your
recon. If you text me today, you're like, Luke, it's really good. You need to go see it in the theater.
Yeah.
Then I'll do it.
Yeah.
But if you're like, then I won't.
You know what?
Everyone,
I miss about cinema.
Paul from AGE Comics in the house. Paul's a fantastic letterer. We're going to be having him letter a bunch of stuff for the 03 book, apparently. I don't know if he's already gotten contacted. If you haven't, heads up. They're coming.
Coming for you.
Letters and stuff. We're going to be sending out that PDF this next Friday. A week from tomorrow, that PDF will be going out. And then I am shopping today for printers to try to get some kind of an idea of what the cost is going to be, because it's been so long since we funded all of those prices that we had established for the funding have all escalated and inflated because we had such crazy economic times.
Yeah, paper prices, tariffs,
yeah. So we're interested to see how that's going to go, but that is going to go out. T-shirts are going out this week. And then books, and then we'll get books shipped over to Critical Blast, and it'll be fun.
Look, have you seen into Simeti's? Like, he's sprinting now. So,
I know he is, but I don't know that he's going to be able to do the page numbers that we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Just like get a quote from him would be.
I'm thinking we're going to be 90, 100 pages easy.
Okay.
What I'm thinking, just by my estimate. But we'll know for certain here in a few days exactly what our total page count is, because we're readjusting that. We've got a bunch of Ginger Star stuff from Randy going in the book. Dude, I was reading through that. It's so entertaining. Talk about back to entertainment.
Meant to be fun, man. That's what
I'm telling you. It is fun. It is fun, guys. If you're not checking out Randy's work, especially his work with Russ on
The Atlantean.
on the Atlantean.
And Shadow
You guys are
King.
missing out. And Shadow King, you guys are missing out. It's fun. It is. It's masculine. It's
Meant to be
entertaining.
Heroic fiction. Sword and sorcery.
Sword and sorcery. Strong guys beating up bad guys, sexy women. You guys are killing it. And Russ knows how to draw a horse.
Dude, like
he does.
I have a grudge against Russ because he's getting too good. And since I'm making the trailers, I see firsthand how good he is.
Mm-hmm. He's too freaking good.
And he's safe because he's in England. Because I would be looking for him.
It's like, whoa, we got to do something about this guy.
Yeah,
right.
Take care of that guy. Jesus.
How would you beat Russ Leach? How would you beat Russ Leach in a drawing competition?
No,
with a club
with a donkey jaw. Yeah, with a donkey jaw, I would beat him.
A club while he sleeps. Yeah. Hey guys, check this out. New York City has renamed the corner of Essex Street and Delancey Street on the Lower East Side to Jack Kirby Way and Yancey Street, highlighting the New York native's contributions to his home neighborhood. Kirby was born on that corner and lived at 147 Essex Street, a place he later paid homage to by inventing the iconic Yancey Street, the home of Ben Grimm, a.k.a. The Thing. Marvel's editor-in-chief, C.B. Cebulski, took to social media to gush over the ceremony, in which the city unveiled 2 brand new street signs corresponding with the new names. Kirby's family and Marvel friends and family attended the milestone moment. And there it is, guys.
Cool.
Paying homage to Jack Kirby.
Nice.
Who would have thought some Jewish boy drawing funny books would get honored with his name on a street, man? That is awesome.
Look at that.
I'm excited about that. That's good news.
It is. Yep.
It's pretty cool.
It's fun.
That is fun. That is
I
fun.
hope
That's
that lasts. I hope they've made that a permanent change and not just a publicity stunt for the FF movie.
No, I think it's legit. Like it's the thing. It's happening.
Well, it does say nice Fantastic Four there.
It does.
It does. Well, yeah, because that's why he named it Yancey, right?
And you got to wonder how much Disney had to pay in order to get that done.
I don't know. Let's find out. Kirby created Captain America in 1940, which put him on the map in the comic book scene by the 1960s. He'd gone on to create many of the characters we know and love today, like the Avengers, Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man, Black Panther, Hulk, Silver Surfer, and the X-Men. Basically, no one deserves a street named after him more than this guy. The beloved artist died of heart failure in 1994. I remember I cried that day, guys. I cried that day. That was the first time I cried about someone I didn't know. In 2023, Jack Kirby's son, Neil, accused Disney's Stan Lee documentary of minimizing his father's contribution to Marvel. Kirby's granddaughter, Jillian, shared Neil's statement on Twitter, and he began by discussing how the documentary fed into the legend of Stan Lee, who passed away at the age of 95 in 2018. That was built upon him having the fortunate circumstance to have access to the corporate megaphone and media. I understand that. As a documentary about Stan Lee, most of the narrative is in his voice, literally and figuratively, Neil Kirby wrote. It is not any big secret that there has always been controversy over the parts that were played in the creation and success of Marvel's characters. Stan Lee had the fortunate circumstance to have access to the corporate megaphone and media, and he used these to create his own mythos as to the creation of the Marvel character pantheon. He made himself the voice of Marvel, so for several decades, he was the only man standing, and blessed with a long life, the last man standing. My father died in 1994. For more, look at the influence of Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko on the MCU and the cosmic side of things. Fantastic Four First Steps, meanwhile, comes out July 25th and kicks off Phase 6 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Can't even believe we're in Phase 6. I didn't realize we went from Phase 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't realize that happened.
I don't know, man. Like, I get the point with Kirby, but at least Jack Kirby kept his dignity. Like, he didn't have to sign with ink blood.
Nope, nobody had to do that.
Well,
But look, without Kirby and Ditko, where would the visuals be? We all know that comic books is a visual medium, right? And we need great stories. And Stan was a fantastic storyteller.
He did give over his life's blood to the industry, Pedro. He just didn't do it physically like they had Stan do.
Yeah. The thing is, like I understand the animosity, but saying like, yeah, he was the one blessed with a long life. Like the end of that life was tragic, man. Like I don't know.
It was.
There's
it's a gray. To me, it's a gray area. Like I don't want to take away from what Kirby and Ditko did. Like I will never try to do that.
All depends upon your definition of blessed, because you go in and you read Stan's autobiography, it really goes tragic in the end. I mean, just right over a cliff. And bad business deals, bad people around him, bad, literally abusing him, and the end stages of his life, and taking advantage of his reputation.
That's exactly what I mean, man. It wasn't good.
In the meantime, though, if Stan
didn't
have that
quotes, because
if Stan didn't have that megaphone, if Stan didn't move out to Hollywood and keep working, if we didn't have all of them bad movies in the the 70s and 80s, Doctor Strange and Captain America with the floppy clear plastic shield and that kind of stuff, we wouldn't have gotten this far. But Kirby always knew that if his work and the work, the imagination level alone of Marvel, if it ever got into the cinema, it would make billions of dollars. And he's quoted as saying that before any of this stuff ever happened. So that nobody expected, that's why everybody argues over histories, because nobody kept any notes. Nobody thought it was important enough. They were just working from month to month to get that paycheck out. And that was where Jack's heart was. He was home. He was working. Where Stan was out, he had to be in front of those cameras, and he turned into the carnival barker, literally for the industry, and helped mold the industry. It's one of the few real key people that helped build up fandom in general. You know, and if he wasn't there at that right place at that right time, who knows where this industry would have ended up.
Okay, yeah, but it definitely takes both, right? It takes the guy that's at the drawing board getting the work done, and it takes that writer getting out there and barking.
But it was a synergy that nobody was keeping track of. No. They were just out trying to sell comics. You know, and Lee took advantage of it. Absolutely. Right.
They were just trying to pay rent.
They were just trying to put food on the table. That's why Kirby was working 5 pages a day.
I don't know that all of Lee's credit taking was all malicious. I believe some of it was people just saw him, and so they just accredited it to the face, right? Because they didn't see necessarily the people in the background working.
With Stan,
it did get some of these artists to start stepping up and getting out in the public more.
And insisting on more credit. With Stan, it was more of a sin of omission, because he went and did all of these interviews and never corrected anybody. He never went through and said, "Oh, by the way, I had the help of some of the greatest talent pool ever in the industry." You know.
Yeah.
Lee was a car salesman. Kirby made the car. That's exactly.
Kirby made the cars. Yeah. Yeah, that's about right, man. That's about right. Yeah, Glenn, make sure you put the link to your book in the chat so people can grab it if they want it. Glenn has a great movie and book about meeting Jack Kirby. He went to his home and heard Jack's stories and
spent 2 afternoons with him. Yeah. Him and Roz.
Yeah, definitely something you'll want to check out if you're a Kirby fan.
Great book.
Absolutely. So that's some good news. Here's some news. Random House signs 14 title deal with Webtoon Entertainment.
Oh man,
we saw it coming, guys. We've seen it coming. We've known it was happening. We've talked about it. They've done some stuff, but this is I think one of the bigger ones. Random House has signed a 14 title deal to publish new Webtoon titles from Webtoon Entertainment under its Inklore and Ink Pop imprints over the next 5 years, the company's announced. 3 titles to be published under Random House Publishing Group, imprint Inklore, which publishes adult manga, manhwa, manhua.
Manhua.
What are these
Webtoon
words?
titles,
That
including
last
Okay,
one is a
manhwa
Al
is made
Pacino
from
word.
no, manhwa is made from
Making
Korea.
stuff up.
Manga would be from Japan. That's how they differentiate it.
It's Asian comic books, okay?
Yeah.
Asian style comic.
Manhua is an Al Pacino word. I'm sorry.
Manhua.
Hua.
Yeah, don't be a
Say hello,
manhua.
and my little friend.
Yeah.
Including Lore Olympus and light novels were announced. There you go. There's some titles for you. Midnight Poppyland. That sounds like something I would not be too interested in. I think Lore currently released webtoons, like, okay, Sparkle City. What is this? The announcement also includes 3 titles planned for Random House children's books, new kids and young adult manga, manhwa, and manhua, and webtoon imprint Ink Pop, School Bus Graveyard by Red, Brass and Sass. That sounds fun. Swimming Lessons for a Mermaid.
And Torella.
Yeah. Ink Pop just released its first title webtoon turn manga title, Wanna Be Your Girl, Volume 1. Last week, guys. Last week that happened.
Like a punk rock song.
Oh, speaking of punk rock, check this out. Ad Populum sells Diamond's grading company. Ooh, they sold Ad Populum, which acquired Collectible Grading Authority. In its purchase of assets from Diamond Comics distributors in May, has sold the company to new ownership group CGA announced. Diamond acquired toy and video game grading company CGA in October of 2021 as the smallest of 3 transactions in the grading category over a period of 4 months. CGA operates Action Figures Authority, the oldest division which grades action figures, Die Cast Authority, Collectible Doll Authority, and Video Game Grading Division, Video Game Authority. The new ownership group includes digital marketing agency principals Andrew Ayo, Thomas Derby of Collectible Investment Brokerage, Collector and Investor Ben Davis, and additional investors. The company will continue to operate from its home base in Georgia with the same management team and staff. The new owners stress stability in framing the acquisition. We understand the concern collectors have felt during the recent transition, Ayo said in a statement accompanying the announcement. Our goal is to bring stability and innovation to CGA. Innovation? What? We are. I think everyone says innovation, like because they just like that. You have to say that, right?
Yeah,
it's
that sounds
innovation.
Good.
Yeah, it sounds good. Innovation to what? I mean, what you innovate? What your grading thing? I'm like
grading stuff. Like it was working fine. What do you mean innovation? What do you mean innovation?
Look, you're gonna see a lot more announcements like this as Ad Populum tries to recoup the investment that they made in Diamond without probably doing the same amount of research that Alliance Gaming did, that when they actually looked at Diamond's books, pulled out of their deal and ran.
You see this?
But
you see this
at least they're saying innovation and not diverse and inclusive. So we have to count our victories.
Sometimes things are perfect as they are. You see this green guitar back here, this Telecaster?
Yeah.
I built this Telecaster right there.
There you go.
I built the Telecaster. You know what has changed about the design of the Telecaster in the last, I don't know when it was designed? Not a thing. You know why? Because it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect the way it is. Right? So all I did is I built one with the kind of wood that I wanted. We adjusted some of the electronics in there just so I can do some weird stuff that aren't normally there. It's not really innovation. It's just borrowing from somebody else's ideas.
Yeah.
And then I made this guitar. Is probably one of my main guitars that I play. It's an amazing guitar. The design and the technology has not changed because it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. What on earth needs to be innovated about grading? Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe the chat can tell me. Go on, chat. Let me know. What's the what needs to change? What can innovate in grading? I don't know.
Do they slab action figures?
I don't know. That would be strange, I think. So guys, here is
just curious.
Yeah. So here we're just going to kind of go through and hit some of the highlights on these. So ICB2 interview. This is Universal Distribution. This is the company that obtained our Diamond.
Or
Right.
Diamond.
Try to take a stab at the pronunciation of that guy's last name.
Exarchakos.
Exarchakos.
Angelo Exarchakos.
Exarchakos.
We caught up with Angelo Exarchakos, the CEO
That's
of
Greek.
Universal Distribution. He's a Greek guy right there, which recently acquired Alliance Game Distribution. See, under new ownership from his vacation in Greece.
Yes. There
To
you
get the
go.
latest on the transaction.
There you
What's been happening since and his plan for the future?
Somebody
Well,
gets to vacation in Greece.
Yeah.
In part one, we talk about the acquisition process, the ownership transition, coming changes, and supplier and retail relationships. In part two, we talk about the universal plan for comic distribution. So we're just going to hit some of this questions, not all of them. So because we want to get to the comic side on the second one. Universal was the winner of the auction to acquire Alliance Games Distribution after a fairly chaotic process. Can you tell us anything about how that process went down? There's going to be some things that I obviously can't talk about. He says, we are under an NDA. There are a few things that I think I could speak to, which I'll be happy to do. We went into the auction without knowing who the other bidders were going to be. Arrived at the auction at 7:30 a.m. at the offices of Raymond James in New York City.
It was an eyes wide
So far,
shut.
facts.
That
So far, yeah.
sounds very
Yes,
secretive.
very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought there would be more bidders, but at the end of the day, there were just a few. The process was supposed to be that they were going to start with the largest asset and then auction off in that order to the smallest asset. We were scheduled to start in the morning with Alliance, as that was the biggest asset, then Diamond, and then everything else after that. However, we were informed that morning that there had been a change of plans, which I can tell you we were not happy about. We had all our plans ready and our structure ready on how we were going to approach this auction. And they told us that due to a bunch of reasons and other bidders, they were going to start the auction with auctioning the entire group off as one. We did not go down prepared to purchase the entirety of the Diamond Alliance. And the reason is there were several parts of the entity that we're simply not interested in. We don't want to be in the toy business. We don't want to be in the grading business. Also, we had been looking at Diamond earlier and felt that during our due diligence, perhaps pre-bankruptcy, there was a deal to be made there for Diamond and Alliance, but only if they pulled but once they pulled the trigger, we felt that Diamond's business had been too badly damaged to salvage in that type of a deal once the bankruptcy had moved ahead. They never wanted Diamond. They were just going to let Diamond fall.
Oh, yeah.
All they wanted was Alliance. That's the only thing is the games. We felt Alliance, however, still had its core assets intact, so that deal made sense for us. And again, remember what one of those core assets was? Wizards.
Oh,
yeah.
And that asset really wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because they were leaving, right?
That's why.
So we felt Alliance, however, still had its core assets intact, so that deal made sense for us. And that's why we proceeded. That certainly threw us for a loop, and we didn't really know what we would do. There was a suggestion that we simply combine our bids with Ad Populum, who was interested in Diamond's business, specifically not Alliance's. So Ad Populum wanted Diamond's distribution. I want to make sure this is clear because I've heard some things to the contrary before that meeting. I had never met Joel Weinschenker. From Ad Populum. We never met him. That was the first day I met him. The only extent of our partnership was simply combining our bids to bid together so that essentially they come to the total and our bids would increase in the same proportion as they started. That was the only extent of our partnership. We don't have anything other than that to do with each other. Joel owns some companies that we deal with, WizKids, etc., and we still do business with him. But in terms of any type of partnership, there's nothing there. It was simply a combined bid so that we could actually place a bid on the entire thing against the other bidders that were there. So basically, they just combined their bid because he wanted Alliance and Ad Populum wanted Diamond.
And again, this is an example of Diamond going through at the last minute, changing the rules in the hopes of making more money and throwing everybody for a loop and into desperation so that they paid more money.
Yeah.
And luckily, the two of them were able to find each other and realize that they had cooperative endeavors to go after that company as a whole. Yeah.
So are you going to maintain the name as Alliance? And he simply put, we will probably rebrand to Universal. Here's a good question. One of the issues in the auction was that Alliance was losing Wizard of the Coast as a supplier. Are you able to continue to offer Wizards of the Coast products due to your relationship with Wizards of the Coast? Well, our contract, our Canadian contract, is a North American contract. So yes, our contract in Canada through Universal allows us to sell product in both the US and the Canadian territories. So there's no issue on our side. We're fully covered with that contract to sell into the US. So Alliance Games Distributors is continuing and will continue to be a partner of Wizards of the Coast under the Universal umbrella. So Universal had the distribution in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So they're able to still distribute here, but not because of Alliance. To clarify for our readers, did you acquire Alliance's suppliers' liabilities as part of your purchase price? Yes. Like I've said a few times now, I would never be involved in any deal where vendors would be unpaid. I do not have any interest in doing something like that. We are in an extensive partnership with our vendors. So any acquisition under any conditions, whether it's through a bankruptcy or not, we were going to make sure that they were made whole. That's what we've done.
On their side. Don't blame us. We just took the gaming.
Yeah. So let's move on to, well, let me see. Switching order size distribution business. 2 sets of clients that serve publishers and retailers. That's not important to us. You mentioned briefly. Question we were going to ask is, are you going to continue the Alliance Open House? We absolutely are going to continue to do Alliance Open House. We will have a few new elements there. There will be some comic book content there. So we will have some publishers that will be joining us over there. We'll also have some other companies coming out, probably from the sports card business as well. So that's nice. Let's go to part 2.
Yeah.
This is where we really get into the nitty gritty about comic books, guys. Comic books. That's what we're here for today. Comic books. All right. When we last talked in 2022, you talked about your desire to sell comics in the U.S., and you mentioned this again in this interview. What are your overall plans for comics in the U.S.? His answer is, we intend to try and grow the comic book business. We hope to bring in new readers to the comic book marketplace.
Well, that's a huge change from the last 35, 40 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
It really is.
Anyway.
I feel like the comic book marketplace is a bit of an aging consumer that has not followed the type of renewed consumer as the games have. Yep. When you walk into your typical gaming store, you'll notice that the average age of the consumer, but also the average age of the shop owner, is quite a bit younger than your average comic book shop. I feel that there's a real need to renew that part of the business a little bit, bring in some new people into the genre. I feel strongly that there's a lot of gaming shops that should be carrying comics that don't. And I think that's a function of Diamond and Alliance being very, very separate. As an example, we have what we expect to be an incredible release of Magic the Gathering Spider-Man coming in September. I'm willing to bet there's going to be absolutely packed gaming shops holding pre-release events with all these people playing Magic the Gathering Spider-Man. But there's no trade paperback or any type of comic book element for them to buy in those shops.
Yeah.
Give them a ring, man.
Well, I don't know, man. Like that breed. Sorry, but I have to interject here because there's a big turmoil. We're on the brink of a new Gamergate because of the kids, and adult gamers are not buying AAA games because they don't really own them, because they're all held on the server.
Yep.
And they're shutting down old games. Like, dude, I paid for this. Like, well, you didn't really buy it. It's a subscription.
It just
and people are really pissed. So
the
the best-selling games of 2025 are all indie. So betting your horse on gaming now, you better be reading the tea leaves, because there's going to be a cataclysmic shift in the next couple of years, because people are just not going for the big studios anymore. So it's more of on online. People want to own their games. So I don't know, like all this.
Right, but you gotta understand, he's not talking about a video game here necessarily. He's talking about a card game.
Yeah.
Card games are growing. So he's absolutely right. When you're having a release like this, you 100%. This is the same problem that MCU had. That's down to Marvel's lack of marketing nuance, I think, or noise, whatever.
But not only that.
Look what happened for 15 years at the MCU. Changed all the characters and no comic book presence in the cinema or advertised. They've always had a problem. They've always had a problem with this.
But so I haven't finished my point though. The thing is like talking about video game shops where you sell the card games and Magic is doing great. I'm not gonna bash Magic, but Wizard of the Coast just lost Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is in the toilet, and now there are indie games coming down filling the void. This has happened in the last couple of months. We're talking about it's called like Daggerheart. There's other couples which are all indie that are filling the void of what Dungeons did. The Magic, the Gathering thing is getting predatory, and gamers are pissed there too. And that's the shift I'm talking about.
I don't know. I don't think calling it a new Gamergate is the thing. I think it's more of a kind of a renaissance of indie of gaming that's taken place, because most of the games that I play are indie games, honestly, on Xbox, and I don't buy them. I subscribe. I have Game Pass, so if it's on Game Pass, I play it. That's what it is. And I think a lot of people are doing that, where it's a monthly fee. I can cancel anytime I want. It's like $10 or $20 a month, and I get to play any game that I want. That's on there. And only it seems like the best games get to be there, eventually, so it's, I like it. What I don't like is the EA games, because I have to have a separate EA login, and that is retarded.
And that's what I mean. Like Game Pass, it's a place for an indie creator. Like if you buy that game, it's going to be $10. If it's taken away, it doesn't hurt that much. But if we're talking like a AAA game that's like $80 to $800, if it gets taken down, you'll be pissed. You know what I mean?
Look, I don't necessarily. Now I might have to buy an expansion, like like if there's an expansion. So I did have to buy an expansion on a game that's no longer on Game Pass. So the main game was on Game Pass. I bought the expansion, and now I have to pay like $10 to get the full game if I want to keep playing it.
Yeah,
but it's not a big deal to me. I don't care, right? Because I knew like eventually this game's going to go away. I want to play a game, and when I'm done with the game, I'm done with the game, right? That's why those old resale shops for games were so popular, because you'd buy a game, you'd play the game, you were done with the game, then you go sell the game, and then buy another game that you hadn't played before. But this is just a digital version.
There's an element of property there. You see, you played the game, you sold the game as your property. Nowadays, you can't do
for less money. For less money.
And so that that's the thing.
In some cases you still can, I guess, but no, a lot of these games are just going strictly download. And once that digital file like goes down on that server, you'll never have it again. And that is becoming a problem for people. It really is. So here he continues. I think that's a big miss on our end. And that's something I think that is important for us to address, to be able to bring in new people and can introduce them to these incredible and wonderful stories. We need some of that, and we have plans for that. We are different. We have different types of projects that we're going to start, making the availability of these stories much easier for the people who are playing games. But see, now they're going to have to work with the publishers. They have to work with Marvel on that. I think they're going to find it's a lot more difficult than what he thinks. So it says, you mentioned Marvel. Do you buy from Marvel directly for Canada? We have a sub-distribution deal similar to what Diamond had with Penguin Random House. You buy DC directly, right? That is correct. We do. In the States, do you plan to add Marvel as a Penguin Random House sub-distributor? Well, our plan for the States on the comic book side is to make sure we scale up in a way that will allow us to hold a certain type of standard in terms of our services, both for our publishers and the retailers. We intend to start with DC Comics and add a few publishers as we build up our capacity. Here's what I don't understand. He's talking about distributing comic books, right? But he said that he only partnered with Ad Populum so that they can have the Diamond side of things.
Yeah.
So he's going to be in competition with his co-bidder. Is this what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's what it sounds
It
like.
sounds like your big expansion of lines is going to be next year. In the interim, how will you make your offerings to retailers compelling with only a portion of the product line in the comic space? So remember, the key for us is not to sell the people who are already purchasing comic books, whether it's from Lunar or Penguin Random House or anyone else. I think we're simply doing that. We're not bringing something to the table. Lunar is a wonderful distributor, so is Penguin Random House. What we want to bring to the table is something a little bit different. Again, we want to certainly have the portion, the option if somebody for some reason thinks it's better to deal with Universal for their goods that they're currently buying from either of those distributors. That's fine. But our focus is going to be on expanding the reach of the comic book marketplace into some new customers. That's going to be our focus.
Good for them.
I think that, yes, I think that we can bring to the table to be a little more compelling is the fact that we are a full line distributor. If you're buying comics from us, you'll also be able to buy your Magic, your Pokemon, your One Piece, etc., etc., and all of your games at the same time in one place. But this also right here, this is like Diamond 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That when he says that, it scares me, because if they compete to become the sole contributor,
One-stop shop,
distributor,
yeah.
the one-stop shop, I mean, oh man, you know what happens when they go down, when
Exactly.
they go bankrupt, right?
Well, I'm hoping the days of the single distributor running a monopoly over the direct market is done, and that we'll keep multiple distributors distributing multiple amounts of product to anybody that wants to take them. That's the only way the market's going to expand, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Here's a good question. He says, if the goal is to find new customers for comics, does that mean you're going to be focused more on the graphic novel format than periodicals? I don't want to use the term focused so much, but there's no question that that is the starting point. That is the easiest thing for us to do. When I'm looking at a gaming shopper in a Spider-Man event, well, the easiest thing to do is to set them up with some incredible Spider-Man trade paperbacks, where a retailer can direct them right to the essential reading. This is the type of thing you're interested in. Here it is. Is that if what you should start with? Look, I agree. Yeah. There is essential reading, right? Some of this garbage that's out periodicals now is not even worth the time to sift through it. But we know there's some great stories out there, some old reprints. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Send them to the essentials and then get them hooked. And then that might entice or encourage the current situation, the current standards in comic books to be elevated, especially when it comes to storytelling.
Ouch. Whoa.
There you go.
I'm just saying what it, look, I say
nice jab. That was a nice jab.
Yeah.
That's what we call unboxing a ghost hook. You know,
look, I will be honest with you. I will be entirely honest with you. The art, I love the fact that they're now going with styles that are not the same like cookie cutter standard, right? Yeah. And I don't mean that in a negative way, because the art's beautiful, right? But there was a 90s style that, well, you had to draw like that or you couldn't, or the book wasn't going to be, popular.
90s into the 2000s, everything got stale and stagnant, really. Yeah.
Yeah. I really like the fact that
I blame Image.
Wow. Like I love that Narwhal is doing books that are in the mainstream now. Mm-hmm. And that his style is so different than everybody else's, but it's dynamic and it's interesting and it aids in the storytelling. And I think that I like where the art is going in mainstream comic books right now. I do. I really do. Because it does mirror a bit more of the indie comics that are very popular, right? Mm-hmm. It's the storytelling that is seriously lacking. Yeah. If you're going to offer retailers that kind of guidance, does that mean you're going to hire comic expertise for Alliance? One word. Absolutely. Absolutely. You mentioned some people from Diamond that you've hired. Does the new comic expertise include some folks from Diamond? It does. It includes Nance Romer on the sales side, who I've known for 35 years probably. Very, very well known. Most retailers know her. She's an extremely, extremely beloved person in the marketplace and somebody I've known for many years and I've dealt with. Nancy was my rep at Diamond. And I can tell you, contributed to a lot of our success because in those early days gave me the advice that I could take and run with. I can tell you on a personal level, these are the types of things that I've used and seen the success of. This is what also we try to do, not just on a daily basis, but that's even the way we build our events. When we do the open house events, we use those to help retailers pick up some new skills. So they're trying to teach them. If they don't have the knowledge in a certain area of the business, we try to have people that can give them a hand. That's why we'll have some publishers at the Alliance open house in this year, so that if some gaming retailers want to get into comics, they can speak directly to DC because they'll be there. That's smart. That's good stuff. When you get to the point of selling comic periodicals here, first, how do you handle the pre-order process in Canada? And then how do you plan to handle it here? Specifically, do you use a print catalog like Diamond Previews, or is it all online? It's all going to be online.
Thank you.
Physical catalogs are a thing of the past. Not that they're not useful. I still have a whole book in my hands, but simply, it's just not efficient anymore. It's not cost effective anymore. This is something that we're not going to be seeing much more of. Absolutely.
I like this guy.
You've talked about comics a couple of times as a genre, and certainly there are genres that are strongly associated with comics, primarily superheroes, but horror, things like that. There are also these other categories, manga and webtoons, which appeal to that younger audience you were talking about, and is very different content. What's Universal's approach going to be for those categories? We intend to support them. We absolutely intend to sell them. They are tremendous genres, incredible stories, and I think they fit side by side with the superheroes. So I think they go very, very well. I can tell you myself, I love reading manga just as much as I love reading Superman or Batman. I think in my mind, they may be different subgenres. I consider manga a different genre, maybe than a superhero comic book. At the end of the day, they're great stories that we read with pictures. So they are comic books.
Technically. Yeah.
Great stories we read with pictures. They're comic books.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, he ain't necessarily wrong.
He ain't lying.
Ain't lying. It's a comic book.
It's refreshing to see
somebody.
somebody.
I love how Randy said, like, technically.
Then it's nice to see somebody actually thinking about the market again.
Yeah, it is.
As
It
opposed
really
to thinking about how they can screw the retailers.
Yeah, and profit margins and whatnot.
And the publishers.
Yeah.
How can we jack them around for money?
Yeah. Here's a good question, because it's gonna kind of hit some people that might be in our audience. One of the things we're concerned about in terms of distribution and supply is the graphic novel publishers that maybe only do 5 or 10 titles a year, but they're really great stuff. They're primarily New York publishers, but not all. Are you going to add those lines? Right now, Penguin Random House has their lines, and Lunar is doing some, but that kind of material is not necessarily getting access to the marketplace in the way the future looks now. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that's something that we have to examine on a case-by-case basis, because if they're talking about doing 5 or 10 graphic novels releases a year, this is not something that should take that much in terms of our resources to support. I'd be absolutely behind something like that. I think the more variety of content that we can get out there, the better. It's just that we want to make sure we're dealing with companies that require a reasonable amount of work for what we're selling. Sometimes, and we've had this experience, unfortunately, some of the smaller publishers, it's simply the work that's involved is not in proportion to what we can sell. And then it becomes a little bit difficult. We want to make sure that the process remains efficient, because it can bring the level of service down when you get bogged down in a lot of things at the same time. So we're very conscious of that. I understand that. Are you buying Diamond UK? No comment. You haven't bought it yet, obviously. No, we have not. In Canada, you handle a couple of major categories that Alliance doesn't, other than comics, trading cards, and licensed merch. You mentioned them in connection with the open house. Are you planning to add those categories to Alliance lines here? Yes, we are. With the major trading card supplier, do you have rights to sell in the US? We do for some, and for those that we don't at the moment, we intend to have a discussion with them about how we can get that to happen. Let's look off into the future. Where do you hope to be with Alliance? What will then be Universal? A year from now and 5 years from now? Yes, that's right. I hope we will have contributed to growing the marketplace to whatever degree that we can, humbly, with a partnership of our vendors as well as our retailers. I hope that we can continue to introduce the genre for both comic books and games to more people. I think that's been really the key element of growth, especially on the gaming side. The gaming side right now is really just kicking on all cylinders. It is fabulous. And the core of that growth has been coming from new players coming in and discovering this fantastic world. I think that comic books business in that space is also primed for that. I'm always so excited when I tell people, what I call civilians, about what we do and all the different great stories. Yeah. I have a little care package that I send people of all of the books that I think they should be reading. Sure enough, they get through a few of those trade paperbacks, graphic novels, and they become fans. I think there are just such incredible stories out there that more people need to read, and I think they'll become fans very quickly.
There you go.
What a great way to end on that one. I do deep respect for this guy. I think he is going to help bring the genre to more people. I don't know what that looks like. Yep. We know that you're cynical. We know that you're cynical. I'm hopeful.
We all should be cynical, but it's nice to see. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's saying too many right things.
That's true.
Which gives me pause.
Let's see if he can make it work.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I miss my Selkowitz.
Where's Rob?
Global Comics is now offering IDW publishing titles, day and date with print release.
Because why not?
The company announced the platform added 176 IDW titles on Wednesday, all available as part of the company's gold subscription package. In conjunction with the launch,
probably unreadable. Anyway,
in conjunction with the launch, Global Comics cut its monthly subscription price and standardized them across platforms to $6.99 a month or $69 a year. Hey,
$69.
Nice. In addition to making the IDW day and date titles available as part of its subscription package, Global Comics also offers the titles for single book purchase. Big move over there, Global Comics.
It's just a digital file that you
Just a digital. Guys, more diamond.
Where's the doom and gloom?
Look at this.
Where's the doom and gloom?
Let me get you some doom and gloom. Yeah, we got to have the doom and gloom. Doom and gloom coming soon. Doom and gloom.
Yep.
Coming soon. Rolling for initiative. Diamond's bankruptcy. Roll for combat in the game industry. Rolling for initiative is a weekly column by Scott Thorne. All right, we know that already. Yeah. It is not just the comic industry getting hurt by the Diamond bankruptcy. Although comic publishers are taking the brunt of it, game publishers are getting hit as well. Though apparently those selling through Diamond's Alliance game distributors subsidiary are not having problems getting paid. That's because Universal, we just heard, is paying those folks. But a number of game publishers also sold directly to Diamond. Stephen Glicker, publisher at Roll for Combat, posted a video last week discussing the Diamond bankruptcy and its effect on his business and others in the industry. See, here's where Diamond's weird. So they had Alliance separated from Diamond. And so Alliance would distribute some games, but then some would have the Alliance side, and they would also distribute to Diamond because comic book stores that carried games would not order through Alliance. Apparently, they would order through
directly.
Yeah, so instead of just having it all under one umbrella, they had it separate, which means that any game a publisher that distributed to both, it's not getting paid through Diamond because Universal is paying the Alliance people, but Diamond not getting paid. So under the agreement Diamond signs with many of its suppliers, the company acts as a sales agent rather than as a merchant wholesaler. The difference is important since a merchant wholesaler takes ownership of the product it distributes while the agent performs most of the distribution functions for its clients, but does not take ownership of the product, only paying the publisher when the product sells. So they don't, it's like it's consignment, basically.
It's consignment,
yeah. Why do game publishers use Diamond as a distributor rather than one of the distributors dedicated to serving the game industry? Well, Diamond gave them access to Barnes & Noble and Books A Million, as well as public libraries across the country, which distributors like Alliance, ACD, and Magazine Exchange do not. Getting the opportunity to sell to those nationwide accounts and the potential to move thousands of copies of their books proved irresistible, and Diamond has been in business for over 40 years with little indication there was any problem with the company until the last few years.
Little indication.
Little indication.
Yeah.
You see what you want to see.
Come
Even
on.
though books from over 180 publishers are held by Diamond on consignment, meaning the publisher does not get paid till Diamond sells the product, Diamond is arguing that under bankruptcy law, they can liquidate them to pay off creditors. Publishers will have to jump through assorted legal hoops in the unlikely hope of getting their products returned to them. Unlikely hope, he says. He knows, he gets it. It is not likely that these liquidated products will be offered to retailers in the hobby game channel. More likely, they will go to mass market liquidation, such as Ollie's Direct Liquidators, Bull Q, and Blue Lots. Ergo, if you happen to see comics or RPG merchandise offered at one of those over the next several months, it is a good bet it came from Diamond. Clicker says Roll for Combat will make it through, though it will be rough. And I have seen posts from a few other affected game companies saying that while the loss of product hurts dramatically, they should be able to weather it. Diamond just continues to screw as many people as they possibly can.
Yep.
One more from Diamond. Pathfinder and Starfinder August and September releases not available in Book Channel. Paizo Inc. announced that some of their upcoming Q3 releases will not be available at major bookstores or Amazon as a result of the Diamond comic distributor's bankruptcy. Paizo has been caught in the wake of the Diamond mess.
Yeah, the price is not small, man.
As they were partners with Diamond book distributors for Book Channel's distribution, including Amazon, of Pathfinder and Starfinder products, and are no longer shipping their products to Diamond, knowing they're not going to get paid. With Paizo evaluating alternatives for Book Channel distribution and the slow pace of bankruptcy proceedings, August and September 2025, Paizo releases will not be available at chain bookstores or Amazon. This affects the following titles: Starfinder Player Core, Starfinder Player Core Retail Edition, Starfinder Player Core Special Edition, Starfinder Combat Pad, Starfinder Murder in Metal City Deluxe Adventure, Starfinder Infinite Deck Card Game, Era of the Eclipse as a Starfinder Novel hardcover, Pathfinder Battlecry, Pathfinder Battlecry Sketch Edition, Pathfinder Battlecry Special Edition, Pathfinder Adventure Path number 217, Death Sails, A Wine Dark Sea, Myth Speaker 2 of 3, Pathfinder Flip Mat Siege, Starfinder GM Core, Starfinder GM Core Special Edition, Starfinder GM Core Retail Edition, Starfinder Galaxy Guide Pocket Edition, Starfinder Player Character Folio. The list goes.
Dude, it's basically their line.
Their entire line.
Yeah. Gone.
Yep.
Kaput.
Oh.
Dunsies. Yeah.
Dunsies. Guys, we have 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Before we go, I want to bring up campaign that needs your attention.
Oh yeah.
We've only got 17 backers on this campaign.
Tank Ferret says it might be easier to say what is available.
Nothing
is available right now, guys.
Yeah.
Call sign Orion.
Yeah.
Call sign Orion, edited by Mike Barron.
Yeah.
Mike Barron worked with RJ. RJ had this great story. Knew he needed to bounce it off some professionals, so he went to the most professional he could find.
Oh, that's beautiful.
One of the greatest writers in comic book history, in my opinion. One of the greatest runs of the Punisher, Bam Bam Bam, that I have ever read made me fall in love with the character. Made me fall in love with the character. Absolutely. Wasn't Mike Zeck the artist while he was writing?
Some of it.
I
yeah.
can't remember. I think he did it. I think he just. But man, yeah, and I love the way Mike Zeck drew the Punisher. I mean, I love it absolutely. So he worked with RJ. He's the editor. RJ is the writer, and I happen to be the artist on this project. 42 pages of story, guys. 2 pages of fan art. Free pop socket for the first 10 backers, already out. Free sticker for the first 100 backers. Plenty of you can get that. Here's the alpha patch as a stretch goal. Stretch goal number 2, you get the cosplay cover, available as its own tier once we hit that goal. And vavoom, vavoom. Here's some of the page work that you can see in here. I like to draw spaceships. I like to draw things that blow up. This is fun. Absolutely a fun book. Here's some of those pages. Check it out. Go over there. Ring the bell. Throw a little bit of bacon on this thing. Flip RJ the bird.
Yeah.
If you're in the chat and you haven't backed this yet, guys, come on, please.
So we've been
making the book.
We've been doing pretty good this week with getting this little countdown going because we are $10 away from 500 now. I put out earlier this week, let's get to 500 by the end of the week because that would get us to 25% of our first stretch goal, which would be the alpha patch, which is a patch you could put on your stuff. If you scroll down, there got the image of what it's going to look like. You want like an elite unit patch you could put on your stuff and look like a fighter pilot / Navy SEAL of the future. That's the stretch goal, man. Help us get there. We're $10 away. $10.
Dude.
These guys is available.
That's one print book. If I sell one print book, we get there.
Yeah.
One $10 shipping.
Print,
print copy. Guys, you're getting this book. I'm drawing it right now.
You're getting it.
I'm drawing it. Like it's happening.
It is drawing.
Like it's you're getting
right
this book. Yeah. I'm doing art for it right now. In fact, this afternoon I'm going to be doing a little bit of art for it too. So we might be dropping a couple new pages.
Boom, Lena Riley, the news reporter, April O'Neil of the future.
Boom, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to it.
I know she's on the page you're drawing. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yep. It's good times, guys. Good times.
Happy time.
I will keep my mind in check and say nothing.
Good times. 17 backers, $10 away. Flip us the bird before we go. I really would appreciate it if you did that, guys. $10 is all we need to hit that $500 mark. That will be 1/4 of the way there. We do have a funding goal of $6,000 because that's about what it's going to cost for him to pay both me, the colorist, and the letterer, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And to get it printed. So, and I think we adjusted for what, 200 print copies? Maybe 250.
Like
I can't remember. It's been a while since we had that conversation.
Yeah.
So, but we have a goal. We know what we need to do. It's getting done anyway, whether we hit the goal or not. But we really would like to do that. That way, RJ doesn't have to eat ramen for the next year.
Yeah, exactly. It is getting done one way or the other. I'll be launching on some other platforms. Of course, FMC is first dibs, and once it's done, it'll be on storefront at FMC as well, because that's definitely my preferred platform. Not just because of the artist, but because it's the free speech platform. And that's what ultimately me and the story are all about. Freedom versus tyranny. It's a Starship Troopers fun, Battlestar Galactica, dystopian Brave New World style kind of book. You guys are going to have a blast. Things explode. There's babes, fighter jets. What's not to like?
I like this one. $50. You get both covers, print, and you get the Lena trading card.
That's right.
Yeah.
Trading cards are, I think, running low. I have to recheck because I've only got so many. I have to recheck how many I've sold there. I've sold a lot of digital copies lately. I sold a lot of the Moss Gloss up front, which is a good deal. It's the shiny book. So I've got a little proof here of the Moss Gloss kind of paper you'll get. I like how it picks up light and really shines. This is the shiny colors from Patrick Gamma really going to pop off the page at you.
It's shiny.
It's shiny.
So what's great about this book, it's the same creative team. This is the same creative team we use for hybrids.
Yeah.
I don't know who's lettering it. Do you have your letter yet?
It's Joel Saavedra.
Yes.
Yeah, there we
So
go.
the same creative team for Hybrids.
Hybrids is a good looking book, though.
Yeah, it's the same creative team. Yeah, Gamma is amazing. So Gamma's amazing.
Yeah, see Glenn's comment. There's Lena Riley, the news reporter. And this is Lisa Foles, who she's based on. Friend of mine helped me come up with all this. And she will be signing these. She has signed these. So signed trading cards are what's going out.
Lisa's a nice gal. Pretty gal.
She really is.
Pretty
yeah.
gal. It's nice to see
her on
someone
Instagram.
using
She's
their,
a musician, model. She does all kinds of stuff.
It's nice to see somebody using their beauty to help out a project like this.
Yeah.
She's got a fun podcast, too. The Temperamental podcast. She's actually really funny.
Funny gal. Funny gal. Funny
Yeah.
gal.
Yeah.
Guys, this has been a great show. The same team that changed my eldest son's favorite character from Batman and Trash Man. Oh, and I'm working on some new hybrids.
Oh, nice.
I'm excited. Yeah. And I've worked with Bunny. Bunny has written a short story that takes place between the first arc and second arc. Okay. And I'm working on that one. We're going to knock out a quick version of that. I'm pretty excited about it. Finally getting back to some hybrids books, guys. We're getting 03 out the door so we can be done with it. Finally.
Out of obscurity. That is, yeah.
Out of obscurity, get that one done and out of here. I'm sick of that project.
Yep.
That's some of the people we had to run in that we had to deal with in some of our chat with that.
Caused some unavoidable delays.
It really did, yeah. And so, yeah, there was just, unavoidable delays around every turn with that. You know, every once in a while you run into that project, it's just an absolute disaster. And that was one of them.
Yep.
But the cool part is there are some really good stories in this book. Mm-hmm. The guys that have contributed to it are really top-notch guys. And I would work with any one of them individually again. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I'll never do a compilation book again. Like that's somebody else can do that noise, not me.
My monkey's in it.
Your monkey is in it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Spank introduces each story. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool stuff. Guys, check out Call Sign Orion. Check out On My Comic. We know that it's summertime, vacation time. So you guys aren't spending a lot of money on a lot of things. So when you do spend money on these comic books, we do appreciate it so much. If you've got the $10 to spare, we do appreciate if you go on over there and back Call Sign Orion so we can break that $500 mark. My heart goes out to you.
Yes.
Yeah. Guys, it has been a great day, great show. Thank you, panel, for being here. It's always great to hang out with you guys. Pedro, we know you got big things coming up.
Yep.
Take 15 seconds to tell them what's going on.
Oh, well, I'm going back to the school, guys. I'll just finish Art's book. I'm fixing Tropical Magics for Arrow Comics. So that's going to be fun. You're going to get Tropical Magics on Arrow. And I'm looking at my own projects. So Waifus and Kaiju is coming right up. And my love letter to Tolkien. It's an old Dwarven book of basically a dwarf platoon fighting goblins. So I'm working on that too. So there's a lot of things on the plate. Yeah, it's fun because it's like you grab Dwarven culture and you move them all the way up to the 18th century. So it's like Napoleonic War tents. So the uniforms look like that. But they're dwarves.
Time's up.
So yeah, time's up.
Randy, 15 seconds. Tell us what you got going on.
I got 2 podcasts Friday morning, 5 a.m. We're looking at Robert Crumb's Zap Comics contributions. Great stuff, especially if you haven't seen anything from the underground movement. You definitely need to check that out. Sunday morning, 9 a.m., Sunday Funnies. We're looking at Superman from the 30s to the 70s. You want to see some lighthearted Superman stuff? This is the place to look. This is where all the inspiration started. So it's Sunday Funnies, 9 a.m. It's on the Randy Zim YouTube channel, the Comic Book Black Belt YouTube channel, and the Indie Comics Network YouTube channel. Check us out. We're archived over there.
Right.
We look at some great comics. Other than that, Atlantean number 3 campaign will be starting up here, I believe, next week on the 18th. So next Friday.
Exciting.
Gonna start Friday. Get that rolling. And can't wait for you to read that. I'm very proud of the story. Russ is knocking it out of the park with the art. It's going to be a really, really good product.
Time's up.
So there we are.
Yeah, guys, check out Randy. RJ, we've already talked about what you're doing. Pedro, thank you again for being here. Chat, thank you for being a part of this. We will see you again next Thursday with the 151st episode of Nerd Bacon. What will we talk about? We don't know. There's a good chance Diamond's going to be in the news. So you'll find out next week. Remember, it's so easy to tear down. It's difficult to build up. Build more than you tear down. Leave the wood pile higher than you found it. And by all means, my friends, please be careful out there.
Let's be careful out there. Let's be careful out there. We had a 187 at the 7-Eleven on the corner of 4th and Main. 2 Caucasians of the male persuasion put a bullet through the cashier's brain. Moving on, I see it to 11. Half a dozen 459. 2 AEWs, a GTA, several miscellaneous crimes.